Remember how you felt when your favorite team lost the championship game? Or do you remember how you felt when you had this big vacation planned and you got so sick that you couldn't go? We've all had days and periods in our lives when things just don't seem to be going right. And if you can identify with that sensation, that feeling, then I think you'll be able to identify with the two men on the road to Emmaus. They had put their hopes in Jesus. They thought, this is the one. This is the Messiah. But then he was put to death. And with that died their hopes of victory. Let's spend a few moments looking at Luke's account of the disciples walking on the road to Emmaus, and then ask, well, how might that gospel speak to me here and now? In the Gospel of Luke, there are really three experiences of the resurrection. The first is the one the women had at the tomb. And the third is a very brief description of Jesus appearing to the disciples in Jerusalem. And sandwiched in between is the comparatively lengthy story of the experience of the disciples on the road to Emmaus and then in the breaking of bread. What happens is that Jesus begins to minister to them. He listens to their story and talks with them about scriptures. And later in the evening, at the invitation of the two disciples, not with Jesus' initiative, he stays there and breaks bread. And it's in the breaking of the bread that their eyes become open, and then Jesus vanishes from their sight. It is in the retelling of the story that they appreciated the presence of the Lord, even before he began to break bread. It was listening to him, having his presence felt. Well, what might all that say to you and me today? How does that experience resonate in our own lives? Well, in the moments that we are experiencing disappointments, not simply a lost championship, but things that would be much more important. What, for example, would you be feeling if you or a loved one recently received a diagnosis of a terminal illness? Wouldn't it be wonderful to have Jesus walk with us, talk with us, reassure us? Or what if your child or your parent or your spouse or your friend did something to cause you serious disappointment? A trust had been betrayed, a promise broken. Wouldn't it be great if Jesus could come and put his arms around us and reassure us that things will work out? And yet, in a sense, we do believe that Jesus is here present. We believe that he's present in the scripture that we just heard. He's present in the bread that we will break and bless. He's present in the community of believers. One thing to note is that the disciples would have missed the opportunity to recognize Jesus if they had not invited him to stay. Perhaps you and I need to consciously invite Jesus to stay with us, especially in these times of disappointments and sorrow. Another thing that we can learn from the story is to be open to others ministering to us. It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of solidarity, of community, of Christianity. Although there are only 3 experiences of resurrection in Luke, the Lord does make himself known to us over and over again. The challenge is for you and me to invite him to stay, allow him to minister to us in word, sacrament, and community.